I was well into spending my Friday night as I typically would, staying up most of the night, playing games and looking at stupid meme sites when the room went dark. My phone suddenly illuminated on the desk where I had just plugged it in, and I realized the power had gone out. I cursed softly as the screen went off. I knew the phone hadn't charged nearly long enough for me to use it as a light for any length of time, and I was relatively certain we didn't have any actual flashlights around. Just as I was wondering if it would be worth it to try and grope around in the dark for a lighter, I heard my roommate's door open across the hall. There was a brief shuffle of movement, then I heard my own door open. "Hey, power's out, huh?" I considered giving a smart-ass answer to this asinine question, but ultimately decided it wasn't worth it. "Yeah, seems like it. You don't have a flashlight, do you?" In the near pitch darkness, I felt and heard her move farther into my room more than I watched her. "Nah, can I use your phone to see?" I had just plugged it in because it was almost dead. I should probably leave it alone just in case we actually need to call somebody. How about yours? "Dead. So, what do we do?" I sighed inwardly. Sarah was a good roommate. She always had her half of the rent on time, didn't leave messes in the common areas or use my stuff without asking, and if I had told her to stop doing something, like leaving her coat around the couch instead of taking it to her room, she stopped doing it. But she was not the brightest girl, and often looked to me to explain things or figure them out for her. Don't get me wrong, I liked her, but sometimes I started to feel more like her mom than her roommate. Well, I have to assume somebody in the building who doesn't have an almost dead phone has already called the super power company, so now we just wait. There's really not much else we can do. "Okay, well, can we just hang out till it comes back on? It's so dark." Again, it was hard not to respond flippantly to Sarah stating the obvious, but it was true that there was really nothing to do until the power came back on but to sit and talk. It seemed foolish to go offending her when she was to be my only companion for God knew how much time. "Sure, why not? Go ahead, sit down." "I already sat down." I was surprised to realize that her voice had, in fact, moved to where my bed was in the room, even though I had not heard any movement. "Oh, cool. So, how did you notice the power had gone out? I thought since you're home, you must have work in the morning." Generally, unless she was scheduled to work Saturday morning, Sarah would spend Friday nights out with her boyfriend. Like Sarah, he was not terribly bright, but sweet and clearly devoted to her. I had been dreading the day she would say the two of them were moving in together, thus meaning I would have to seek out a new roommate. I hated most people on principle, so the idea of having to find another one I could stand to live with was daunting, to say the least. "I woke up because it's so dark. It's never been so dark in that room before." Naturally, this statement confused me greatly. I wondered if I heard it right. "What? You woke up because it got darker?" "Yes, because of the dark." I still didn't think she was making a bit of sense, but she had just woken up after all. Her initial response of yes, however, oddly unnerved me. Sarah had been my roommate for over 2 years, and I felt very sure that in all that time she had never given an affirmative response that wasn't yeah or uh-huh. Furthermore, we had had power outages before, so her assertion that it had never been so dark in her room before didn't seem to add up. Then I remembered that she had recently gotten, or rather her boyfriend had gotten her, some blackout curtains for her room, to block out the sun when she needed to go to sleep during the daytime. If she had those pulled, they were probably blocking out any small amount of light that may have filtered in the room from outside before. Nonetheless, it seemed bizarre that, it being especially dark, had somehow woken her. "Well, if you have work tomorrow, maybe you should try and go back to sleep. I'll stay up until the power comes back on." "No, I don't want to go back to sleep. Let's talk, Jessica." Unnerved was steadily progressing to downright freaked out. Sarah was naturally laid back and an easygoing type of girl, so to have her suddenly use such forceful and aggressive tone was very disturbing to me. Even worse, however, was her calling me Jessica. One of the only habits I've been unsuccessful in breaking Sarah of was calling me Jessie. Eventually, I had given up and allowed it. I tried to tell myself that she was probably just tired, that was the reason for her uncharacteristic behavior. It dawned on me that I'd be much readier to accept that explanation if I could actually see her. As dark as it was in my room, even with a small amount of light coming in from the distant street lamp, I could barely make out her silhouette on my bed. Just a black, vaguely human shape in the darkness. "Why are you calling me that, Sarah?" There was a moment's silence before Sarah's voice responded, now in a conciliatory, decidedly more Sarah-like tone. "That's what you prefer to be called, isn't it? You said so before." I can't fully describe the thrill of horror I felt as I realized that whomever or whatever I was speaking to was backpedaling. I was certain now that this was not Sarah, and certain that whoever it was knew she had shown her hand a bit and was now desperately trying to return to acting like Sarah. The tone was good, unsure, and almost apologetic. That was very much like Sarah. The wording, however, was all wrong, and there was another problem. I haven't mentioned that in over a year. Another pause. It was taking all my willpower not to jump up from my chair. Whether to confront the imposter or to run from her, I wasn't sure. I think both the desperate, lingering hope that this really was Sarah, as well as the notion that if it wasn't, it was in my best interest to keep playing along, kept me rooted in my seat. "Oh, haven't you? Sorry, I guess I'm kind of tired. I can call you Jessica though if you want." I couldn't take it anymore. This wasn't Sarah. I was beyond sure of it now. I jumped up from my seat. "Who the hell are you?" I had only a second to reconsider the wisdom of choosing confrontation over fleeing, as the imposter answered quickly this time, and in a more appropriate tone of alarm. What do you mean? I'm Sarah." "The hell you are! Tell me who you really are." "I'm Sarah. It's me, Jessie, really. Why don't you believe me?" "Because I can't freaking see you and you're not acting like Sarah. You aren't Sarah. Who the hell are you?" "I am Sarah. I know you can't see me. Hey, wait. You said your phone wasn't quite dead, right? Let the screen come on just long enough to see my face. You'll see it's really me, Jessie." This gave me a pause. The voice in the dark was now sounding very convincingly like a frightened and confused Sarah, and had quickly suggested I use my only light source to prove its identity. I was starting to feel increasingly foolish and embarrassed at my paranoid freakout. But still, I had to be sure. I turned to reach for my phone where I knew it would still be sitting, plugged into the inner wall socket. I picked it up, and the time appeared in white, causing a minuscule amount of illumination. As I was about to unlock it, it started ringing. Sarah calling. I didn't turn. I slid my finger to the little green phone icon in a kind of surreal haze of disbelief. "Hello?" "Hey, Jessie. I forgot my key again. Can you let me in?" "Sarah?" "Yeah, it's Sarah. Hey, is the power out? It's all dark." And the phone went dead.